Hello everyone, this is Preheat. Welcome back to my farm guide for Vault of the Incarnates for Devastation Evoker. This is the part 2 of my farm guide. Keep in mind these are farm strats, so they're a little bit different than what you might do in progression. Obviously, you're going to play a little bit differently if you're doing the farm strats, trying to kill the bosses more efficiently, more quickly, but hopefully this has tips and tricks for you. We're going to be giving commentary on each boss, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's start off with Mythic Council. So you'll notice I'm running a little bit of a different build for this fight since we aren't using Disintegrate. So you'll notice in this fight, I try not to spin with Disintegrate if I can avoid it. The opener on this is just going to be Living Flame into Staff, into Deep Breath, and then we're going to go straight into Dragon Rage. And we are going to be charging up our Fire Breath, so that our Fire Breath hits multiple targets, more upfront damage, and it's going to give us that Leaping Flames that hits all the targets there as well. Also taking Eternity Surge to level 2. And keep in mind, every bounce that we get with Volatility is actually cooldown reduction for our Eternity Surge, so really, really useful there. Hopefully you get good luck with your Volatility procs, it definitely can make a difference. But just trying to get as much cooldown reduction as possible, saving that tip the scales just in case we need it, in case of movement, or in case of having not enough time to really get an extension right at the very, very end of Dragon Rage. And just trying to use as many Essence Bursts as possible, use up all that Essence Burst. We're going to tip the scales, Fire Breath here. Definitely want to do Fire Breath on this fight. And then Eternity Surge at rank 2. Okay. And yeah, we're coming up on the end of Dragon Rage here. Now, you could definitely get another extension if you had just a little bit better luck with Hoarded Power. I did not, but that's fine. So as we enter our Dragon Rage here, we have a Fire Breath. And I opt for the rank 1 because we have a mechanic coming out at the same time. And I kind of want to get some burnout procs. But we're still going to be using rank 2 on the Eternity Surge. And I Deep Breath here into the circle so I could soak here. And yeah, so I mean, name of the game here is just try to basically build your Charge Blast stacks as much as you can before your next Dragon Rage, but obviously we have a little bit of time there. Now, Burnout, you should typically only use if you have 3 or less targets, but I opted there for the Burnout with the Living Flame. Usually you want to Azure Strike there, but you know, either way, it's not a big difference. And then obviously we have our cooldowns coming up very, very soon here. So we're basically at this point, I'm trying to gauge when like the end of the fight is going to be. It's such a short fight. But you want to time your Dragon Rage so that basically Dragon Rage is falling off as the bosses are dying here. So I go ahead and use this Fire Breath, max rank, flipping out some pyres, and then here I'm going to try and start building towards my next Dragon Rage. So I'm going to try and get some Charge Blast, and so you'll see me actually using Disintegrate here, and I'm not using any Mind Powers. I'm just trying to build and build. I'm going to go ahead and clear the buff right there so we don't get frozen. And this will be our last Dragon Rage. Unfortunately, the targets are pulled apart right as I go for that. You hate to see it, but it is what it is. And now they're stacked up again. Perfect. Okay. And yeah, more of the same, right? We're just fluffing out as many pyres as we can. And be dropping the circle here on these pillars as the bosses all kind of die off. And we definitely could go for like a Deep Breath here, but I'm going to opt for just more Dragon Rage damage right as the bosses are dying. All right, and the bosses go down, and we didn't end up beating the Boomkin, but it's going to be really, really hard to beat Boomkin on this fight. And I'm pretty happy with how that damage was in 4 targets. So obviously not using the Ever-Burning Flame build anymore. I'm just going with like the Imminent Destruction, Feed the Flames build. But I like it a lot. Definitely go try that build out if you haven't already. All right, time for Dathea. So for this fight, I am pure single target, except for I have Eternity Span. Highly recommend keeping that talent. I will be going up on the second platform, which means I will need to make sure that my cooldowns are up for that. And that happens around 3 minutes after my first Dragon Rage. So I'm going to have to hold Dragon Rage for an additional minute. No big deal though. It's more important to kill those adds, even if you have to overkill them, right? You don't want to be wiping to not having enough add damage. Now my guild is going to opt for the 3 strat. Basically you kill 3 sets of adds as opposed to 2. I know you can kill 2 sets. It's definitely very easy to do and meet that in Rage, but we wanted to make sure that we were just, you know, we're just playing it basically safe and, you know, trying to make sure that we don't wipe any more on this fight than we have to. We had a little bit of trouble last week with wiping on this boss, so we just opted for like the safe strat. So yeah, if you're doing this strat, if you're doing 3 sets of adds, make sure that you have that add damage. It's very important. And Evoker is really, really good for the second set, not as good for the first set. You definitely don't want to be going up on the first set if you can avoid it. All right, and the ad is out, so yeah, make sure that you do not kill this ad early. It's only really an issue on the first ad, but I'm going on my way to like not cleave the ad. I don't want to be dealing too much damage to it. Obviously you could target it, right? It has higher health. It would probably make you do more damage, but that would also make your raid wipe. So don't do that. Yeah, so anyways, as the ad dies here, coming up really quick, you can actually use your glide to interrupt your momentum whenever you're getting knocked. So you'll notice me doing it right here. Boom, I interrupt it, right? And this is going to knock you straight down. Obviously, don't jump into the tornado though if you can avoid it. And yeah, so basically for this part, right, you're charging up the next ad. So you want to be kind of near the ad so that if you get the lightning on, you can just immediately go in and, you know, place that debuff in the ad there. And let's see. So yeah, cooldowns are coming up. Now you could use Shadow Gem here, right? Like you could use it basically on cooldown since you're holding your Dragon Rage for a minute. I forgot to press it here. And if you forget to press it, then definitely hold on to it until your Dragon Rage is up, because you basically want to use it exactly on cooldown, or you don't want to use it on cooldown, just wait for your Dragon Rage, right? But I think optimally you would just use it there as soon as it comes up, and then you would have it again for your next Dragon Rage because you're waiting a whole extra minute, right? It's a 1.5 minute cooldown. And Dragon Rage is 2 minutes, and you'd be holding Dragon Rage for 3 minutes. So it ends up being, you know, 1.5 minutes times 2, that's 3. Anyways, so yeah, this ad I actually swapped to because we do actually need some damage on this ad to kill it right away. We also spawn it just a little bit late, but that's fine. Just swap to it, you know, deal some damage. Evoker's really good at dealing damage to a new target. And I swap back to the boss here, I think, in a moment. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. So the ad platforms are coming up here very, very soon. As you can see, I'm holding on to my empowers, trying to have them all up for whenever I go up on the platform. All right, so it's time. Let's go ahead and get in position. I request PI. I pop Zephyr, I think, as we go. And I hover in right here while I'm midair. Knock this ad. Oh, it looks like it got knocked for me. Perfect. Okay, popping our cooldowns and just go ham with it, right? As much AoE as you possibly can. And I did a stun there just so I could CC the ads, but typically you wouldn't want to use Dragon Rage. And as you can see, these ads are just dying so fast that even if I had held Deep Breath, it really wouldn't do anything for me. Oh, also, since this ad is dying, you could definitely finish it off with the staff, which is what I go for here. But we just have so much damage that it's just getting absolutely wrecked. And I did use my Eternity Surge there just to try and get an extension on my Dragon Rage. And then obviously as you're coming in, just try and deal some damage. It's not great to have Dragon Rage be basically falling off as you do this next part here. But you just make do with whatever you can, right? Obviously, having more ad damage is better than having less ad damage. I actually used that tornado there to try and get a little bit of air so I could hover out. It's actually better to hover if you're higher up, but you know, obviously don't take extra damage if you can't handle taking that damage. It looked like I was pretty healthy there, so you know, Evoker does have that that nice aspect to it where, like, if you're having trouble getting around people and people have marks, like you just, it's like a traffic jam, right? What you can do is just take a tornado if you're pretty healthy, and then use hover while you're midair, and you just fly over people's heads and you don't give them the mark. It's really, really nice. That's some secret tech for you. If Evokers ever take a tornado, they totally meant to. But anyways, so this ad is about to die here, so I'm getting ready to press my spacebar as soon as it pops. There it goes. And just dealing more damage to the boss. Now, obviously, if you have a global cooldown, like an instant GCD, it's better to use that while you're midair, so you can still cast while you're falling. Oh, also you can hover too. That's another thing. But I like to save my hovers for either getting around like where I need to with the debuff, or having it whenever the suck is happening. Okay, yeah, so I'm not going to do another platform on this fight because we don't do the 4th set of ads. So basically from this point on, I'm just going to be using my Dragon Rage on cooldown. Got to a good spot where basically if I got the mark, it would instantly clear on the ad. All right, and everyone's coming back here, and Dragon Rage is back up. So it basically lines up with the winds, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. Just go ahead and tip the scales on your Eternity Surge and then start casting there. And you'll notice I obviously cast my hover while I was mid GCD. That way I wouldn't lose any uptime. And just shredding the boss as much as we can during Dragon Rage. It's nice to be able to stand still and cast. Spoke too soon though. Of course, I had a tornado spawn on me, so I did have to move there. No big deal though. Okay, so yeah, we're coming up on the end of the fight. So if I had another staff use, I could probably use it here. I think I might actually end up getting like one more. I barely missed that ascension. Unfortunate, but is what it is. I think what you can do, and this is probably what I'm going to do next week, is you can just hold your staff for the boss and just like not even use it while you're up on the platform. I was using the staff on the platform just because that's what I was used to, and it seemed like we needed a little extra damage on the ad, but now that I'm watching this VOD, I don't think we actually need that damage anymore. I think we're probably good to go. We overkilled that ad anyway, so don't really need that extra damage there. Okay, and yeah, we don't even hit this last ad. It just stays out in ranged, and just focus the boss, deal damage to it. And yeah, I mean, this fight honestly is so much easier with more gear and just pushing it faster. So it's kind of a shadow of its former self, but still a fun fight. Still like it. All right, last but not least, we have Broodkeeper. Now, I know some guilds are now opting to skip the last set of ads by clearing more eggs quicker, but we don't do that. And I think the boss actually gets ranged here right as I'm using my fire breath. God, I hate it whenever the boss gets moved just like an inch out of my range. But yeah, anyway, so basically just deal single target damage here, right? Just focus the boss, and we're going to be taking the gateway very, very quickly here. Coming up in a couple seconds with the first ad set. All right, yeah, get these disintegrates off, throw a couple living flames, and take the gate. And actually use Time Spiral here just for a little extra movement. Get over to those ads, and the first thing I do is I knock these ads towards the middle, and then I immediately deep breath to CC them. All those with the deep breath, and then I take PI and I take Dragon Rage, and I actually use Fire Breath now because this tank that we have is not a warrior, and if you don't have a warrior tank, you're probably going to pull threat and die because they won't have mass taunt. So it is more damage to hold your Fire Breath and just like instantly clobber them with Fire Breath, tip the scales into Eternity Surge as soon as the ads spawn. You're probably going to die if you do that unless you have a warrior tank. It's actually really awesome though if you do have a warrior tank. I was doing that for progression, and it felt really, really good. But obviously VDH, not as good at snapping threat. But yeah, so basically these ads should die right as your Dragon Rage is falling off. Should be nice and at the top there, cozy on the meter. Coming over to the next set. If you're Evoker and you are not working on the ads, you are in the wrong place. Your talents are not being utilized, okay? You can do good boss damage. There's no doubt about it, but you're just so much better at killing these ads, so it's honestly a waste of talent to be over there on the boss. But yeah, so we use our deep breath here. I actually have all the deep breaths kind of planned out on this fight, so I use them as we move into this last set of ads. And you want to target the new Proto Drake and just deal damage to that thing, obviously making use of your mastery. You want to AoE these mobs, but you also want to deal as much damage as you can to that Proto Drake. It's really the priority target. And if you notice, I also have the tank focus targeted here. That's because I'm running Cauterizing Flame, and Cauterizing Flame is really, really good for getting rid of the bleed that the ad does. You can see it right there. That Rending Bite that it does. I have a weak aura that shows like a bar. I just made like a crappy weak aura for myself for this. But yeah, if you see like 2 of those bars, make sure that you dispel your tank, right? Like you don't want your tank to have a bleed there. Also right here. So if the tank has any bleeds and they're making this move over to where the red marker is, make sure to dispel them right here with Cauterizing Flame. And then right here, what you're going to want to do is not press Pyre. You're going to want to just stick with blue spells. You can do a full charge Fire Breath if you want. You can do some Disintegrates, Living Flame, jump in, Deep Breath towards the next ad set. Don't take damage that you don't need to. Obviously, that wasn't good. Deep Breath, and the cone was in a really bad spot there. This was like the tank's first time doing, I think, this boss. We had a different tank for progression, so it's a little bit scuffed. You'll notice threat's kind of an issue, and also positioning of like frontals is off. But yeah, just try obviously to be looking out for stuff like that. And then just deal as much damage as you can here with your cooldowns and everything. And I like to use a staff here since it's winding down. There's like 2 targets, and I'm not going to be able to make use of my full Dragon Rage anyway, so might as well get some use out of it here. All right, finished off those ads, and now we get to wait. And watch how long we get to wait for. Now, of course, you could deal damage to the boss if the boss was a little bit closer, but I think it's actually better to kind of pre-position for the next ad set. Get in a good position where you can set up for a Fire Breath. Now, I didn't use Fire Breath there because I didn't have it off cooldown. I foolishly used Fire Breath at the end of the previous pack. Don't do that. Save it for the beginning of this one. It's more damage that way. You have less Dragon Rage uptime, but it doesn't matter because your Dragon Rage falls off anyways. And then right here, you're going to want to Deep Breath into the next pack. That's going to get you in a good position. It also hits all of the mobs as they're spawning. Don't do it too early though. Make sure you also have the stun. If you don't have the stun, you're probably going to get threat and die, which is not good. Yeah, and just, you know, try to keep up that AoE damage outside of Dragon Rage here. Full charging your Fire Breaths. Using your Eternity Surges at whatever target count you need to. And as soon as this ad pack wraps up, we're going to be making our way back to the gateway. So I'm kind of finding that little opening there, throwing the needle, trying not to take any fire damage there. Take the gateway, press Time Spiral, get into that next pack here. And I try to deal a little boss damage while we wait. Here's the ads. Okay, and then for these, I have to be really careful with my threat because the tank has to do like a big move. So I don't do anything too crazy. I just do like a rank 1 Fire Breath there. just because I don't want to pull threat. And then right here, I think I'm going to pop my defensive and then deep breath into the pack, actually, from where I'm at over here, because this is like a really good angle. It's not going off for some reason. There it goes. God, I hate when deep breath just isn't going off even though you're spamming the button. It's not just you. It happens to everyone. So yeah, obviously you would want to have these ads on the boss immediately. The phase 2 begins at 5 minutes into the fight, whether you're ready for it or not. So this is another one of those things where we're like playing with the new comp, so we don't necessarily have like the cleanest strat. But make sure that you bring those ads in. And then, okay, so for this part, the only damage in phase 2 that's really deadly to you, unless you're just like standing in the mechanic, is the little frozen tombs that come out. So make sure that you have deep breath for every other one of those. And then if you don't have deep breath available, what you want to make sure is that you kill your own very, very quickly, or you're in a good spot where you can get like mass dispel. It doesn't really matter how you break them, just make sure that you break them quickly and try to put up your defensives beforehand. As you can see, I got mass dispel there. But you'll see here, so basically I'm not taking this soak because I didn't want to take too much extra damage. I just wanted to lower people in the raid. So I opted to not stand in the circle there. Want to make sure that you kite your laser beam. Don't get clipped by other people's beams too. And then during the wildfire, do like a little jig. So yeah, I've said it a million times, but basically just always make sure you have damage mitigation for Frozen Shroud, unless you're mitigating it by just making it not happen with deep breath. Obviously that's the better of the two, right? But you can't do it every time. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and beam here, and then the boss will use its Frozen Shroud. Always use deep breath right as it's going off. That way it doesn't deal damage to you. You can't do it on every set, but you can deep breath every other. You could take a lot of damage during that if you don't get broken out instantly. And I've definitely had situations where like I try to target my own and like hit it with the disintegrate, and my disintegrate bugs out because I don't actually have the essence for it. And then I'm just sitting there like taking a shit ton of damage and dying because basically the disintegrate just won't fire off. Yeah, love the bugs. Oh, we actually have another really annoying bug coming up here. I won't spoil it, but I'll give you a hint. It's going to be in Dragon Rage, and it's going to involve Eternity Surge. So I'll let you guess which one that is. So yeah, we've talked about a lot, you know, in this fight, and I think most of the difficulty of it is just phase 1. Phase 2 obviously is a little bit relaxed, right? A little bit laid back. Just don't die to the Frozen Shroud. Easy. Don't stand in stuff. Kill the boss. Right, nothing too crazy there. Yeah, so we'll just enjoy the VOD here and wait for the next Eternity Surge. If I'm remembering correctly, it's this next one here. Yeah, 1, 2. Oh, and there it finally goes off. Love that. Love that bug. Yeah. Oh, actually, I almost died there because I went through someone else's laser. Don't do that. That was scary. But yeah, so the boss is winding down here. I'm throwing out some heals on myself and just, you know, doing whatever I can to make sure I survive. Throwing out a deep breath there, right, with the Frozen Shroud. Love to see it. And yeah, what else is there really to talk about on this one? Honestly, straightforward. Like this fight a lot. Evoker's really, really good on this fight too. Definitely enjoy getting PI on it as well. Feels really strong, especially in P1, getting all those PIs. I'm going to be really sad once we decide to start pushing this boss a little earlier by crushing the eggs faster, because it means I'm not going to get that last bit of AoE pad at the end. But yeah, decent fight still. Definitely feels a bit easier with more gear. Kill the boss a lot easier in this last phase, but the last phase was never really that hard to begin with, so. Anyways, so if you like this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel, ring that notification bell. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. That's all I'll ask you to do for today. Hopefully I see you in the next video.